Welcome back to another episode of the Personal Collection. I tell you, this week I have one of the best Rickey Henderson collections out there. Probably is the best, actually. I'm here with Kent. His Instagram and Twitter is Rickey939. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Absolutely. And it's an awesome opportunity to talk about the collection. I share out Rickey Henderson stuff every single day from my social media accounts. So give it a follow if you're interested in Rickey at all. And I share out at least one item a day from the collection. So I'm just excited to have the opportunity to talk about it tonight. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem. And I can't wait to see it. You showed me some of the pictures before the episode, and I was like, oh my God. And you said you've been collecting for Rickey how long?
I've been collecting Rickey since 1987.
Wow. So think about it. That's 34 years of collecting one player. That's longer than a lot of people have been alive. It's amazing.
Are you aging me already?
Well, I'm 23 years old. So, I mean, you've been collecting them about one half times as long I've been alive.
That's right. Well, and I'm 42, and yeah, I basically have collected them since I've been 8 or 9. So, yep, it's been a while.
So I got to ask, was the first Rickey card you picked up the rookie, or was it something else?
That's where it all started. So 1987 for Christmas, I remember walking down the stairs and I saw this plain brown box under the tree. And, when you're excited to see a whole bunch of like wrapped presents and other things in your stocking and all that, I saw a brown box and I'm like, what is that? And sure enough, as I opened it up, it was the complete set of 1987 tops. First set of cards I'd ever seen. I didn't collect cards before that. It was actually that opening of that started the madness. And the way I got to that was I started collating all the 1987 tops cards by team, by color, and then I got down to by player. And Rickey had quite a few cards in that set. Between his base card, he had a turn back the clock card, he had a checklist card, an all-star card. Yes, so it all started with that 1987 set, and that was my first set of cards I'd ever had. Didn't collect sports cards prior to that. I was in Little League Baseball at the time, so of course I had an interest in baseball. I live in Kansas City, so I was a big Royals fan, and I remember getting that set, and I'm like, what am I going to do with this? And so I started like collating it by team, by colors. I got down to by player, and that's when it dawned on me as I'm going through this, like, this Rickey Henderson guy's got a lot of cards. He has a base card, he had an all-star card, he had a checklist card, a turn back the clock card. It just went on. And I literally said to myself at that moment, this guy must be good. And that's how it started. And there was some other similarities that I learned as I started paying more attention to Rickey. I'm a Royals fan. I lived in Kansas City. Like at that time, the Yankees and the Royals, like that's the arch enemy. Like, how dare you like anybody on the Yankees, right? I was kind of outside the box by, yeah, I like George Brett, I like Frank White, but no, I'm a Rickey Henderson fan. And I was the lead batter for my Little League team. And I couldn't hit worth a darn, but I was pretty fast. So I would get on base and then steal. So I had all those kind of similarities going on with Rickey. And my birthday is the day after Christmas and his birthday's on Christmas. So it's like all these things started to come together. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to start collecting this guy and starting to pay more attention to him. And, it was the late 80s. So the only time I got to see the Yankees was if they were on, national TV. And I was allowed to stay up late to watch it. Or of course, if they came to Kansas City, I would watch them play the Royals, and I hardly ever missed a game at Kauffman or Royal Stadium when Rickey was there. Other than that, there wasn't like the internet. So, there was newspaper clippings and there just wasn't a lot of exposure. So I really had to work hard to find out more about them and be able to see them. It really wasn't until, the 89, 90 World Series and postseasons where the A's were on TV all the time during dominant time. And that's when it really, really took off for me being able to see him play and see him at the highest level, just basically absolutely dominate.
So then did you end up getting more of those complete sets, or did you start chasing singles at the time, or how did you progress from that one set in 87 to what you have today?
Yeah, good question. So 1987 Topps was the only set I have ever owned. And true story, I don't even have it anymore. I have no idea where that set is because yes, I only started to collect Rickey singles after that. So, I would obviously go to my local card stores at that time. And they basically knew I was the kid that was going to come in and ask for Rickey Hendersons in any local shows. And it was easy because around here, again, nobody wanted Rickey Henderson. They're going after all the Bretts and everything else. So in actuality, it was an advantage for me in this market to be able to get a whole bunch of Rickey Hendersons and get them cheap. And yeah, I took advantage of it. But yeah, that's how it all started, was kind of starting off with singles. And then obviously that was kind of the period of time, was just getting, you know, all the base cards at that time. And then once the inserts started to hit, of course, I had to get inserts. And then once parallel started to come out, I
The
tried to
90s
get
are
as
great
many
for that.
parallels as I could. Yeah. So the 90s and 2000s, of course, it just skyrocketed from there. And I always joke, but there's been more cards of Rickey since he retired than he ever had as a player, by like threefold.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, I mean, the trading card database has over 10,000, I think 500 Hendersons now. It's just insanity.
Now, how many unique versions of his card do you have?
I have 4,500 unique Rickey Henderson items. So I'm not even half. So I always tell people, I don't even have half of what's out there. I'm just like a little guy. But yeah, like 3,000 of those are one of ones. It's ridiculous. So, and I've never been the type of collector that has to have everything. I go towards the things that I like. So I love anything that is green with Rickey in an Oakland uniform. Anything that matches any team that he was on. So those are the parallels. So, you know, if Topps comes out with 6 different colors every single year, I only want the green. I don't care about the orange. I don't care about the red, because that looks really weird. Purple, like I don't need any of those. Blue, don't care. But the green, now that I want. So I've been able to narrow my scope several times, and that's what you have to do, because if you try to get it all, you'll literally go nuts and you'll financially go bankrupt. And that's not fun. So to me, this is all fun. That's all what it is. I'm not in it for anything else other than just having fun. And if you have that sort of mentality, it brings a lot of joy to it. And now that I have kids and my kids collect cards, that's a whole other level of fun now. So it's a blast.
I got to ask, are your kids also into Rickey? Did you tell them that they need to?
Well, yeah, only because of me. And it's kind of funny because like my wife, she knew nothing about, of course, Rickey Henderson prior to meeting me. And within the first 6 months of us dating, she could start to name every single team he played for. And I'm like, this is working out. She's the one. She's figuring this out. And yeah, the kids just through osmosis, I think, if nothing else. And especially my oldest one, like he knows his stats. It's hilarious. But no, they like their own players. Of course, many of them Royals players. And so, yeah, I think it's awesome that they have their own unique collections. I don't necessarily want them to follow in my exact footsteps with the collection, because that's kind of crazy, but they're having fun with their own way of collecting themselves and kind of finding their own niche, which is really cool.
No, that's awesome, especially getting him into the hobby. So I got to ask about your room. You sent me a few different pictures of it. Obviously, I can't see it all in camera right now, but we're going to be putting on some pictures over here on the backdrop for the next few minutes or so. But you want to tell me about like what you built out over there, and if you collect anything else just besides the cards?
There's a lot of things in this room. It obviously all started with cards. That's where the love started for many, many years. And frankly, I just didn't, that's all I could collect. That's all I had room for. I literally had one binder, and then it grew to 2 binders, and it grew to 3 binders. But I didn't, and I had a whole bunch of posters and stuff. The first time I ever displayed posters was actually in my, when I was in college, in the house that we had. But other than that, everything was in storage because there was just no real place to ever have it out and display it. And when my wife and I moved into one of our first homes, you know, I had an office, and that office kind of turned into a little bit of a Rickey Henderson room. But then we had kids, and guess what went away? The office and the Rickey Henderson room. Things we do for kids, right?
Yeah.
And so everything went into storage again. And then I got kind of a little bit of a corner down in the basement, and I had some stuff out. But I also had little kids at that point, and I'm not going to put out some of this stuff with little kids. So long story short, then 2018, we moved into the house that we have now. And, you know, my wife comes into the house and she goes to the kitchens and bathrooms as we're going through it. Right. I went straight to the basement. I'm like, I'm buying a house. It's going to be for the basement, and I need to have a whole bunch of walls, and it needs to be an open space. So I personally fell in love with this house just because of the finished space in the basement, and I could envision what it could be, and finally being able to display stuff. So with that said, now I have posters out. I have a ton of art, lots of Rickey art pieces, custom pieces, anything that kind of goes with, you know, obviously multiple teams, but it's got a big athletic theme to it. Just because when I do think of Rickey Henderson, of course, I envision him as an Oakland Athletic. Although I appreciate all the teams that he played for. And I was a huge fan of those teams when Rickey was on them. So even the 32 games in 1997 with the Anaheim Angels. So all those I wanted to incorporate in one way or another down here. And there's also memorabilia. So it's a stolen base, it's a bat, it's a ball. I have a cleat now, which I think we'll show pictures of a little bit later. So there's just a lot of those different pieces that when you put them all together with the display case of cards, that's what becomes the man cave of steel, as I call it. Yeah, it's fun. And now it encompasses 3 full walls. I have lots of other walls down here, but as I look around, it's also Chiefs and Kansas City Royal stuff. And then, like I said, my kids collect. So I'm not that selfish to take every single wall up, but maybe someday we'll see.
When they move out or go to college, right?
Right, exactly.
There you go.
Well, then I won't be able to afford anything. So
that is expensive. I'm not going to lie on that side.
Yes.
Now, have you ever met Rickey in person, or like when was the first time you met him?
So the first time I met Rickey was actually in 2003. I lived in Chicago at the time, and the Dodgers were in town. That's who Rickey played for his final year. And of course, Wrigley playing the Cubs. Rickey never started really in those games. So he would always come in, and I didn't know if he was even going to play that day. And sure enough, he came in. I think he pinch hit in the 7th or 8th, and he got a hit. I'm like, yeah, of course he did. I'm here, right? That's what's supposed to happen. And so that was actually the last time I ever saw him play. And so after the game, I knew where the players come out, and all the Dodgers went to their team bus, and Rickey went another direction, which didn't surprise me. Rickey was born in Chicago, has a lot of Chicago friends, and the famous 7-Eleven that used to be right outside of Wrigley is where a car was there to pick him up. So as he's walking across the street, of course, I'm basically almost right behind him, giving him his space, of course. But then by then, people start to recognize it's Rickey Henderson. So then there's 5 or 6 people at that corner. Then there's 10 to 12, and then there's 20. And luckily, I was one of the first ones there. And I just stopped him and just said, hey, I don't need an autograph. I just want to shake your hand and basically thank you for the last 25 years, because I love this game because of you. I'm here because of you. And you're just one of the greatest of all time. And I just wanted I wanted him to hear that from me. And he was super gracious, shook my hand. He actually had a Sharpie in his hand from somebody else that was going to get an autograph. And I had a ticket stub. That's the only thing I had on me, because I had no intention of getting anything signed. And he actually signed the ticket stub and handed me the pen, which I still have. I actually have it in the display case, the blue Sharpie. I mean, that's DNA, right?
That's awesome.
So yeah, that was the first, again, that was probably a minute interaction, but it was timeless for me. It was just an amazing experience. But the best moment for sure was in 2013. I was able to surprise my oldest son at the time. He's 15 now, but he was 7 at the time. And we went to Iowa to the Field of Dreams. And at the Field of Dreams, they have a charity event there. It's a celebrity softball game that's called the Team of Dreams. And Rickey's part of the Team of Dreams, at least he was that year, along with, a whole bunch of other famous players. So Boggs is there, Ozzie Smith, Frank Thomas, Reggie Jackson, Johnny Bench. It just goes on and on and on. So it's just an amazing experience to be able to go to the Field of Dreams first and foremost, but then to see those guys play. And so I surprised my son, and we went. He had no idea what we were doing. I just told him we're going to go see a game. And sure enough, we go there. Rickey leads off and absolutely obliterates a softball into the corn in left field. And of course, he's doing his little trot around the bases. And it's obviously just so fun just to see that atmosphere. The guys are just having a blast. And so over the years, I've gotten to know some folks who are really close to Rickey. And one of those gentlemen knew that I was coming to the game. He actually sat next to Rickey on the bench during that game. And unbeknownst to me, the person went and retrieved that ball and presented it to my son at the game. And not only gave him the ball, but the ball signed as well. So he took it back to Rickey. Rickey signed it, and then he brought it over to us. He said, make sure you stick around after the game. And that was basically all he said. And I'm kind of like, okay, like, I don't know what that means, but sure, like, fine. Well, as it turns out, the Team of Dreams, they sign autographs in a tent out in the parking lot after the game. So I go into the tent again. I don't have a ticket. I didn't have anything to sign. I didn't even know what was going to happen. Meanwhile, I see the lines of people lining up to get these autographs from folks. And I see the Rickey Henderson line. So I just get in that line. I'm like, I guess this is what I'm going to do. Sure enough, I get a motion to come up front as they're pointing. I'm looking at myself and my son. I'm like, are they talking to us? Like, what? So I literally just walk past everybody. It was the weirdest out of body experience ever. And I go behind the tables where all these players are. Like I'm passing Ozzy, I'm passing Frank, to Rickey. And the moment happened, and they were like, would you like to get a picture? I'm like, absolutely. So took pictures of Rickey and my son. And then they're like, well, don't you want to be in the picture? I mean, I was so into it just to watch my son interact with Rickey that I lost track of, well, heck, I want a picture too, right? So it was actually hilarious that they're like, well, you got to get in here too. So have those awesome pictures. And then Rickey took his time to talk to my son and ask him, what do you love about baseball? So they had an awesome interaction, and Rickey signed his hat. He already had the ball and the most beautiful signature on his hat that I've ever seen. And, again, I had that moment to just kind of connect with him and thank him again. And it was just awesome. So that was more of like, 5 minutes, and it felt like 6 hours. It was just amazing. So a lot of people get nervous around meeting their hero because you just don't know how it's going to go. And, the first interaction was amazing. But this second interaction, I'm nervous, right? I'm nervous about how is he going to act around my son? And oh my God, I mean, those two just hit it off. And that was, to me, I could have just gone home at that moment. Like, that's all I needed to see. That was incredible. But then to go on and still share it with me and everything, it's just amazing. So there's a lot of stories out there in the media about how folks treat people. And when you're a celebrity, of course, you're going to have moments where you probably don't have your best moment, but my interactions with Rickey Henderson have been nothing but absolutely professional on multiple levels. So as my personal hero, I think that's just the coolest thing ever.
No, it's great that he's like that. I got to ask though, so did you tell him about the whole card PC and the memorabilia PC that you have of him?
I didn't there, but Rickey definitely knows about the collection. He has seen several pictures of the collection. Again, I've stayed close friends with somebody who knows him really, really well. And Rickey doesn't do it basically anything technology-wise. I think he only recently has a smartphone. He's never done email. He's not on social media. I wish he was. That would just be absolutely amazing. So there's no way to the only way that he sees that stuff if somebody shows him. And yes, I've been told a few times now that he is impressed by the collection. So that's all I need. And yeah, everyone's always like, well, he needs to come there. I'm like, well, he doesn't really come to Kansas City because there's, unless there's a show here or something that he's going to be here for, he doesn't get to the Midwest very often at all. I mean, he stays on the East Coast and the West Coast for the most part. So that's not going to happen, I'm sure, but I am just fine with him seeing it in pictures and everything else. So I think I represent his side pretty good.
Now, with that being on the way, let's take a look at some of those cards.
Absolutely. So yeah, I picked out a few things here. Again, had to start with 1987 Topps. And this is a special one. It's kind of hard to see, but up at the top, it says Rosen. If you guys have heard of Matthew Lee Rosen, he does baseball card art, kind of gum style and themed. So I asked Matthew, I'm like, hey, 1987 Topps was my first set. Really special memory with my dad who passed away in 2014. So I wanted to honor him for not only, starting the collection basically with that 1987 Topps set. So I had Matthew put a picture of my dad using his awesome gum technique. It's not real gum, but it's, painted on there.
That looks so close to gum.
Isn't that cool?
Wow.
So yeah, it's a portrait of dad on the back of that 1987 Topps set again. So, I mean, how cool is that to honor the collection and how it all started?
So with artists, the other thing I forgot to mention, are you going after some of those Project 70 or 2020 cards? Is there any Rickeys in that set?
Yeah, so I got the whole Project 2020 set behind me in a custom frame that looks like a 1980 Topps card. And then he's only had 4 in Project 70, which I have as well. And that was a marathon. I mean, that's a full on. Yeah, it was pretty intense and pretty crazy. But now that I have it all together, it's pretty awesome. But I'm glad Project 70 hasn't been totally nuts with Rickey because I had my fill with Project 2020. And there was really no time to rest before they announced this Project 70 with more artists. I'm like, oh no. I mean, if there's going to be 300 of these, I'm out. I'm just going to stop it now. But yeah, luckily it's only been 4. And yeah, it's pretty cool. But from the art side of me that really likes that creativeness of it, it is the best of both worlds in my opinion, because I love the art side. And of course I love the Rickey side. So let's bring them together. We've talked about, maybe we haven't talked about, but so in that 1987 Topps set was a turn back the clock card. And on that Turn Back the Clock card was a picture of Rickey's 1982 Topps card. Well, unbeknownst to me at that 8 or 9-year-old time frame of my life, I thought that was his rookie card. So I go on thinking, oh my gosh, someday I'm going to get a 1982 Topps. And I remember getting that card. And a lot of this stuff, like I had to end up paying for. And I'd go to shows and I would, work the deals and stuff. It was a lot of fun, actually. But I remember getting that 1982 Topps, and again, it's not a lot of money. And I thought to myself, wow, his rookie card's pretty cheap. That's pretty sweet. And then I think it was in a Beckett where I remember seeing Rickey Henderson's real rookie card on the front of the Beckett with Rickey. And I thought to myself, well, what's that? And then as I started to learn more, I'm like, oh boy, I need to go get that card. Like, that's the rookie card. I skipped some years. There's 1980, there's 1981. And the 1980 rookie card has always been, I think it's always been undervalued. But especially during the 90s, that thing really started to escalate quickly. And little me was not going to be able to afford that card. So it actually took me quite a while to get some of my first rookies. But nonetheless, with that said, my favorite all-time card is the 1980 rookie card. I now own 50 of these bad boys. And most of them are in absolutely amazing shape. I don't grade cards. I mean, if they come graded, that's one thing, but just my personal take is that I'm a collector, right? I have no interest in selling these. I don't care if they're PSA 9s, whatever. Doesn't matter to me. But that card has grown into like its own little niche of my collection. It's one thing to have the original. It's another thing to try to get all the parallels of that card over the years. Now it's into art. So anything that has, a custom art card with that. So again, Project 2020, like you had mentioned, but all these independent artists that are making amazing work and basing a lot of that design off the 1980 Topps design. Like, I want that stuff. So that card holds a special meaning to me on multiple levels. So that was kind of like the 80s, right? If I'm going to wrap up the 80s for my collection in 2 cards, those are the 2 that I picked to talk about. And then it kind of morphed into the 90s. And for me, 89, 90, again, Rickey was just absolutely dominating the scene. He was the MVP in 90. He was, a world champion in 89, was the ALCS, just absolutely MVP of that. One of the greatest postseason performances of all time. And so that love for the A's and for those cards and the escalation of those cards in terms of how many they were making was a really fun time for me, because again, there was just awesome cards coming out, and Rickey's just like, the card manufacturers, it would be really hard to not make a cool Rickey. Like, he was just cool.
He's an icon.
So whether it was the bright green batting gloves, it was that swagger, it's that iconic, obviously head first dive, or even just his crouch in the batter's box. I mean, everything about him and everything about the pictures of him just oozes like excitement. So of course, if I had to pick a first card in the 90s, it's 93 Topps Finest. So of course that's the refractor. Yes. And again, I didn't get this till later in life because this card is pretty valuable. But when 93 Finest came out, I actually remember going to the card store and there was a line of people. And we didn't even know what it was. Like, I mean, you're opening up these cards, they're green, they're shiny. People didn't know what a refractor was. I can only imagine how many refractors were thrown away. Because yes, it's shinier, but at the time you didn't know, right? Idea. Yeah. So when I think back during that era, it was just like, wow, like if we only knew that we were unwrapping for the first time ever, like a chrome finest type card, that finish, then let alone what is this shiny thing? And where it is today, where it's just like the common thing, right? I just remember those days like they were yesterday. So that card, of course, holds a ton of meaning. And as you get later into the 90s, then you start to get into some really the parallels and some scarcity. And so I like to talk about 1996 Select Certified. 1996 Select Certified was the first set to have ultra rare parallels. So the Mirror Gold, there was only 30 of. And at the time, no one, like, that's insane. Like 30, what do you mean? If we remember back into the early, Donruss Elite Series cards where they made like 7,500 or 10,000,
Yeah.
Like that was limited, right? They thought, oh my gosh, those are serial numbered. Like that's a big deal if you get one of
Or
those.
even like the Tiffany sets.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So when you get something like this that's out of 30, and then you have to get the mirror blue out of 45, and then you have to get the mirror red out of 90, like that's insane. Like, so
Is
that
that
one
the
set,
is that the whole rainbow, or is there multiple colors? Or
that is the whole rainbow. Yeah. So that's the whole rainbow of the mirrors is what they're called. So mirror, gold, blue, and red. But in the regular cards, they had a regular blue, a regular red, an artist proof, the regular card. So yeah, that set really is iconic, because after that is when you start to see numbered cards like 30 or less with the super raves and those sort of things. That's when it started to just kind of become an annual thing. But before 96, that didn't happen. So this is a truly historic set with some pretty special meanings. Ironically, I'm not sure if you saw, this is 96. So Rickey's in a Padres uniform. I mean, this is a sweet card, and I loved his time with the Padres. However, I always wondered, what would it look like to have a mirror green in an A's uniform? And thanks to technology, we now know what that looks like. So I had a custom mirror green made in an A's uniform. And I liked it so much that I actually had another one made too. So there's another different artist, another mirror green. But I mean, the back is
who
just
made
like
those?
the original card. So one of these is from All Era Sports. This one right here, and this one is from his Twitter handle is it's Joel Hoffman. I don't know his exact Twitter name off the top of my head, but just amazing custom card artist.
That's cool.
So, but yeah, it's cool to be able to see that reality, because I always wanted, like, oh, well, I want to see what a mirror green would look like, and let alone in an A's uniform. So yeah, after the 90s, we get into the 2000s, and it wasn't this card right here, a Boston Red Sox card,
Really
autographed
did play
relic.
for everyone.
Yeah. Oh, he played for 9 different teams, but this card is numbered out of 100. This is number 29 of 100. This was a redemption card, actually. And I'm showing you this card because it wasn't until 2002 Donruss Elite Throwback Threads that he had a certified autograph card. First time ever. So this is the first autograph card that Rickey ever had in a pack of cards. And again, it was a redemption, so it wasn't even in the pack, really. And so for me, this holds a lot of meaning, because now I have hundreds of autograph cards, and an autograph card does seem to be just the common thing these days, but this is a big deal. So I always hold that kind of special, a special place for that. And again, now that we're into the 2000s, the 2003, 2004, 2005, there was more Rickey Henderson cards produced in 2004 and 2005 than any other year. I think it was 5,000 cards alone. I think between those 2 years, which is insane. Like I mentioned earlier, it was 10,000 cards total. I think there was 5,000 in those 2 years. And because it just exploded. Obviously, every card manufacturer is out there making all the parallels, all the relics, all now autographs. It just got insane. But this one is a really special one. This is from 2005, Donruss Classics, good old Donruss. And on this side of this classic combo is a Rickey Henderson autograph. Again, he's in a Padres uniform on this one. American flag behind the scenes, and a nice white napkin relic.
Card.
But it gets even better. So as I mentioned, I'm from Kansas City, and I'm a Royals fan.
Right.
So how about Bo Jackson?
Oh, Bo Jackson.
So this is a 1 of 1. It's the only one in the world. So we got Bo relic 1 of 1 on that side, and got Rickey on the other. So 2 of my most iconic buddies on one card.
Imagine pulling that card from a pack.
Oh my gosh, right? Yeah. And it's funny because, like, I don't even remember where I got that. The memories that I have are so vivid on some things, and others, just because there's so much, it's like I don't remember exactly how that one came together. But it was probably eBay. Because that's really what escalated the collection too. Once the internet became obviously more prevalent, but really in eBay, I joined eBay in 1998. I remember that website was almost black and white. Like there was some color images, but you could only get cards via like money order. I mean, you would write a check. Like it's crazy, right? So half the time it was just a description. Of course you wouldn't see the card. There was no way to upload pictures, right? So you talk about a wild time, but that was awesome because it was still the coolest thing we ever had, like a national worldwide audience. And so those local card stores that I had always, you know, I had gotten everything locally. I needed a bigger audience if I'm going to get more stuff. And so the eBay really opened up those opportunities to be able to get stuff at a much larger scale. And sure enough, a lot of my cards have come from the East Coast and the West Coast, because that's where he played. He played in California, and he basically played in New York. Those are the two areas that he played. And so yeah, it's been an awesome capability since early on the onset of eBay to where it is today, to really add stuff. But yeah, just a couple other things. Again, I love his autograph cards now. And so, you know, as we move into more of the modern era, some of my favorite sets are Topps 5-star. I love those quality cards. And so this one is from 2016, Heart of a Champion. And again, Rickey's signature is just iconic. It's classic. It's beautiful. He always takes his time. And so to have that kind of green fog behind the scenes on that is just so sweet. And again, I gravitate towards if they would have made this card with that like red in the background or blue, I would be like, eh. But the fact that it's green, I'm like, oh, I'm all in. So that's the 2016 5-star. Here's the same exact insert, Heart of a Champion, in 2017 5-star. So Rickey is chiseled like a rock. He's literally like in front of a mountain. So super cool cards. I mean, 180 point thick. They're just beautiful.
They're massive.
They're absolutely massive. And then getting into things like this, I never thought we would see gold framed cards. You know. So 2017 Topps Museum. This is number is this 2 of 10
or something like that, right?
Yeah, number 8 of 10. And again, yeah, so a nice beautiful gold signature. This design, this black on gold, is just phenomenal. So it's just a super beautiful card. So I love that. 2018 Topps Clearly. So I love, again, we're going back into the rookie card. So when they came out with a rookie card, a clear one, and he can have his signature on there. I know it's kind of hard to see because it's clear. It is just amazing. So this was a white whale for me. I actually got this in November of 20, and I'd been searching for it since 18. And so when one came up, oh my gosh, you can ask my kids. That was a joyous day in this house.
I feel you with that type of stuff. Sometimes I look for months to find a card, pops
yes,
up on eBay, boom.
Exactly. And there's a lot of competition. The Rickey Henderson, I actually am one of the admins for a Rickey Henderson collectors group on Facebook. And, you know, there's 778 people in that group now. And many of them are really big collectors, but we're also like friends, and like we work together, and like we'll flat out tell each other like, hey, we're bidding on this one. Let's not bid each other up. And we'll even talk about like really what we're willing to go to. Because if someone's willing to go more than me, cool. Like I'm not going to bid it up. Like that's not cool. Like what's that about? I know there's a lot of other collectors, especially player collectors, where that's not the case. It's like war. And that's not fun. At least I don't think it's. So the fact that I'm now good friends with a lot of these collectors is just elevated my love for it even more. I love seeing their collections as much as they love seeing mine. And it's just awesome. It's just a really cool, close-knit community group. And I'm glad that we're all sharing, because there's plenty of Rickey Henderson to go around. Like, honestly, I mean, again,
1,000 cards.
Right. Like I have a lot of stuff, but there's definitely people that have a lot more than I do. And everyone kind of has their own thing. I collect a little bit of everything. There's some people that only collect cards. There's some people that only collect newspaper, magazine type things. Some people that only want memorabilia. And see, I don't have a lot of memorabilia, but the pieces that I do have, of course, I absolutely love. But yeah, so that's what's so great about it, is that many people can be into it, and each have their own little piece of the pie. And yet then we share it out and we talk about it, which is so cool. The last thing I was just going to show really quick.
Sure.
Oh, I did have to show this one. This is 2020 Topps Stadium Club. I know it's really hard to see in this light, but this is a super refractor. Yep.
There we go.
So I am one card away from the complete rainbow of this guy. And I need, so anybody listening, I need the 2020 Stadium Club Chrome out of 5 red refractor. And then I would have had all of these. So again, that's something that maybe it'll show up 5 years from now, and I'm going to hold like a block party. It's going to be amazing when that happens.
I'll be looking at all the card shows for you. I go to one every weekend. So
please do. And it's funny because it's a red one. It's like, I don't care about the red, but I got to have it. So this is some of the newer stuff that I'm really getting into and that I just love. Again, the creativity that's going on in the hobby and with card art is just amazing, because some of these folks are creating things that, again, really these mainstream manufacturers, I wish they would do, right? But they don't. And so it's so awesome that a lot of these independent artists are saying, you know what? I have amazing talent. I can put these two things together and make something just amazing too. So some of those things are like this card from Milberg Sports. It's a ticket card. It's a real ticket from the 1989 ALCS against Toronto, game 2. Rickey had 4 stolen bases in this game. So not only do you actually have a chunk of the actual ticket and like a prime cutout of it, but then you have Rickey actually from that game, stealing a base. Kelly Gruber is sitting on the ground from the Blue Jays. But then on the back, you have a nice little QR code that takes you right to the page that talks about the stats. I mean, how cool is that? Like that stuff, awesome. I just absolutely love that. I mean, that image is so iconic. It's just beautiful. So,
and the logo on the ticket,
right? We talked about, of course, 1987 Topps. So when I found out that there's an artist, his day job is working with wood, right? So what happens with the 1987 Topps card? Let's actually make a real wood border. And not only that, let's add 9 patches from every team that he played for.
That's so cool.
How crazy is that? I mean, so like the precision that for those cuts and like the rounded edge up there around the Yankees uniform, that's wood. So that is super, super cool.
That's
so again, like this stuff is just as exciting to me as a superfractor. And in some ways it's better than a superfractor because this is like truly one of one. Like they don't make
see it again.
Right. Here's a custom card based off Rickey's Mizuno lime green batting gloves. So this design here is actually the armband, the wristband of the batting glove. One of the fingers on the batting glove is white, but all the other ones are green. I mean, it's like the border, a custom border made to after his batting glove, because I'm a huge lime green Mizuno batting glove fan, and Rickey was known for that. It's like this awesome back. It's like this cool silver slate thing. It's just amazing. This card is a 1980 Topps rookie card, but it's made out of leather. I say that again. This card is made out of leather, hand tooled, painted, real leather. It's insane. So this is from Stockyard Cards. They're each one of one, but they're on Twitter. Stockyard Cards. Again, that's their niche. They make leather cards, and the detail on this, insane.
That stuff is so cool.
And then the last one I just wanted to show is I love like the downtown cards. Okay. So I love the downtown cards that like Panini's making, but they've never made a Rickey Henderson, of course. And so I had to have a custom one done. So this is by Loyal Luke on Twitter. And Loyal Luke's actually made a few of my custom cards, but this is a custom downtown card that he designed. So, you got the BART subway system down there. You got the Oakland sign, you got the bridge. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. So I feel like I have now, because I do, my own custom downtown Rickey Henderson. So like I did with that Mirror Green 1996, I like to reach out to artists to say, you know what? I know they're not going to make a Rickey in this particular set, so let's dream together and make one. And I love doing that. And it's fun for me. It's fun for the artists. And again, it kind of satisfies that art side of the collection.
That's really cool. One last thing. So you obviously talked about 2003 being one of your favorite moments with Rickey. One other moment from his career. What's your favorite?
So everyone would probably expect me to say stolen bases, and that is what Rickey's known for. I mean, I'm wearing a shirt right now that says Club 1406, because that's the final number that he had. And that's the easy answer. For me, it's actually the all-time runs record. The whole point of playing baseball is to score runs, and nobody has done it. Nobody has touched home plate more than Rickey Henderson. And it doesn't get talked about enough. And, he beat Ty Cobb's record. And not only that, he did it on a home run and in 2001. And then a few days later, he got his 3,000th hit. So imagine in 1 week, you get the all-time runs record, and then you just happen to get your 3,000 hit and the last game that Tony Gwynn played in as well. So it's like all that history happened in 1 week. But, at one time before Bonds passed him, he was the all-time walks leader. And to this day, he still is the all-time unintentional walks leader, all-time leadoff home run hitter. He holds the record for the most consecutive years with at least one home run, 25. And with those 25 years, he hit at least one leadoff home run every single year. I mean, that's insane. I mean, the guy was 43 years old. And then, by the way, he went on to play a couple years in independent league baseball after the majors, and even won a championship in 2005. And had like an on-base percentage of like 425 in that league. So he's ageless. But again, for me, it was that runs record. I just think it's the coolest thing ever. And I'm not sure if any of his records will ever be broken. Certainly the stolen base one is ridiculous. No one's probably going to play 25 years again because the money's so good. But yeah, his records are going to stay around for a really, really long time. But that moment in October of 2001, when he got the runs record, and then a few days later when he got the 3,000th hit, those are the ones that I remember the most, other than of course winning the World Series against the Giants in 1989. And again, the postseasons that he had were just awesome. But yeah, there's a lot of memories, that's for sure.
Yeah, I don't think anyone will catch him with the stolen bases. Everyone's afraid right now to send their runners for injury concerns. But hey, Kent, thank you again for being on. Guys, this was a really awesome episode. You can make sure to follow Kent on Twitter and Instagram at Rickey939. Take a look at his collection. You just saw a little bit of it today, but he has much more on both of those platforms. Thanks again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Hey, no problem.